Hello and welcome to today's video where we are at Spa Francorchamps in Belgium in the Group 1 cars. So this is probably my favourite combination on the game. I really enjoy driving Group 1. I seem to be quite competitive in a Group 1 car as well. And we're at my favourite track, which is Spa Francorchamps. So let's get straight into the racing then. We're starting in P3 for race 1. And we can see up ahead then things are kicking off already. Both cars going deep and wide. We managed to move up into second place, but you can see there Jack has ended up with a 4-second penalty. I think that's a bit unjust really. I think he was the car on the outside, and if anything it was Tay the Day, who's now behind me, who ran into Jack. So unfortunate for him, but we are going to benefit from it. So we're going to zoom straight through his ghosted car up into first place to take the lead of the race. So a bit of background information on the race then. It's obviously in the Group 1 cars. We're on the racing hard tyres and they do last until the end of the race, so there will be no need to pit. There are 3 cars really that are going to be competitive in this one, and that is the Toyota, the Audi and the Porsche, so all the hybrid Group 1 cars. I'm in the Toyota. The Audi is actually the fastest car over 1 lap, and the majority of people will be using it to set their qualifying lap times in the time trial. But during the race, the Audi suffers from battery regeneration, so unless you can really specifically drive it to harvest the battery, it's probably not the best race car. So I've chosen the Toyota. I much prefer it to drive. It doesn't have the horrible sort of understeer you get from the Audi because of the power going to the front wheels, the electric power, and it's probably one of my favourite cars to drive actually. As we look behind and we see a couple of cars behind also have penalties, so as we head up to the penalty serving line on lap 2, you can see the cars behind are dropping back quite a lot now, so the gap is nearly up to 3 seconds, and all we're going to have to do now really in this race is just look after the car, make sure we don't make any mistakes, and it should be a comfortable victory. We'll skip forwards then as we cross the line to finish the race, and you can see it was quite a comfortable victory there, finishing a good 5 or so seconds ahead of the car behind. And you see there was a few other decent drivers in the lobby as well, Key 25 down there, Josetti as well, so yeah, it was a pretty good lobby and quite happy to come away with a victory. So on to our next race, and we're starting in 4th for this one. You really want to make sure you're 4th or above, because if you start 5th or below, you actually start on the chicane or before it. So you've kind of got to do the chicane before you even start the race, which can be an absolute nightmare. But we've got through turn 1 nice and safe here then. We've got the traction control on setting 1 there, you can see. And sometimes I just like to start the race with that on because of the cold tyres. It just means that there's no risk of sliding, spinning out of turn 1, and you can just get on the power a little bit earlier and make sure you stay in the slipstream as you head up through Eau Rouge and into the straight. So we can see up ahead there has been a small change of position. I think P2 getting ahead of P3 there, and we're going to see if we can hold on to this group in front and really just try to stay in the slipstream of the car in front and capitalise on any mistakes that might happen, any battling that might happen up ahead. As we see the car ahead then gets very wide, we're going to move to the inside, try to put it late on the brakes, down into 3rd gear to get a better turn in, and we get the move done. So up into a podium position for us then. So the 2 cars up ahead, we've got the Toyota in front of us, and then in front of the Toyota is an Audi. So like I said, the Audi is going to start struggling as we get a bit deeper into this race, sort of from lap 2 or 3 onwards. And you can see here I've jumped forwards onto lap 5, and the Toyota and the Audi are side by side going down into the corner at the end of the straight, but the Audi comes out on top. So the Audi, although it suffers with the battery regeneration, it still has a better top speed than the Toyota. So out of turn 1 and down the hill into Eau Rouge and up the hill onto the back straight, the Toyota has the advantage. But once the Audi gets up to full speed, it then has an advantage over the Toyota. So even in the slipstream, it's very hard to get enough of a slingshot to pass the Audi in a straight line. So the Toyota generally can set faster lap times during the race because of the battery regeneration, but it's very, very difficult to pass an Audi if there's one up in front, And to be honest, the best or the easiest way to be able to get past an Audi is if you stay very, very close going down into turn 1, getting a good exit from turn 1, and then actually out accelerating them as they suffer with the lack of electric power, and overtake them before Eau Rouge. But you can see here the Toyota ahead doesn't quite have or it's not quite close enough to the car in front, so that's not going to happen. But he should get a bit of a slipstream heading onto the back straight. We're also in the slipstream of the Toyota as well, so hopefully we'll get pulled along too. So if you look to the left then, you'll be able to see the delta times, and as we're being dragged along the straight then, the top 3 cars are now separated by 1 second, so it's getting very, very close. We're going to have an opportunity at some point in this race to try and move up a position or two. The Audi is also going to start to suffer with his front tyres because of the way the energy deploys. And as we come out the hairpin here, you can see he gets a little kick of oversteer, has to correct it, and ends up off the track and into the wall. So we are now up into second place, and that's good for us because the car ahead no longer has the slipstream and is also a Toyota like we are, and that's going to give us the advantage of being able to close up a little bit closer now as he runs wide through Gr.1, enabling us to get nice and close. But through here we're going to be affected by the dirty air coming off of the back of his car, so something that's quite noticeable in the Gr.1 cars. You don't see it as much in other categories, but with the high downforce of the Gr.1 cars, if you're too close to the car in front, you do get a bit of dirty air there, as I'm having to lift off going through that right hand turn in order to not go wide. So you definitely lose some downforce being so close to the car in front. And lap 8 then, as we head through the same selection of corners we've just seen, again trying to keep it nice and tidy. We don't want to be running wide if we can avoid it. We're able to get the power earlier than he can, and you can see he has a massive moment on the curb there. It's a very dangerous curb to end up on, and you can quite easily send yourself into a spin. But we're going to have a run on him down into the final chicane then, and he's going to go defensive up the inside, and we're going to pull out of it. We're going to brake early, and we're going to see if we can maybe make a move at the end of the straight. So we're going to keep it as close as we can through the tricky final chicane, and then we're just going to try to maximise our exit out of turn 1, see if we can get in the slipstream and get a slingshot and attack him on the straight. So we've had a good exit from turn 1 there. We're going to start closing on him. He's about 4 tenths ahead, so maybe he's a bit too far ahead really to go for the move, but we'll see what happens. In 5th gear then, shifting up into 6th gear. Now we're in the slipstream. Normally we'd hang it in 5th gear really for the whole straight, and yeah, we're not quite close enough to get the move done, but we are very, very close. So now we're going to be able to pressure him, and he's going to be much more likely to make a mistake if we're up close to his rear bumper. Every driver will feel pressure when you're this close, and the closer we are, the more pressure he's going to feel, the more likely he is to make a mistake. But in the dirty air then, we get caught out, end up wide on the curb. We have to go half throttle so that we don't end up spinning the car and beaching it on that high curb. And you can see behind us now we have the Brit Brackus, who is going to be very, very close. So we're going to have to go defensive this time down into the final chicane, and he gets very close alongside us. We have to give him room through the second part, but we just about managed to hold him off there and cross the line to begin our last lap. You can see the car behind is still very close, so we're going to have to go defensive into turn 1, and unfortunately this is going to compromise our exit, and we get a little bit kick of oversteer as well, so it's not going to help at all down the run into Eau Rouge, and we're definitely going to come under attack as we head up onto the back straight. So we're just going to have to keep it as close to the right as possible and make it difficult, make him have to make the move around the outside. But you can see he's got a much better run on us than we've had on any of the other cars ourselves. And he goes very, very late on the brakes, but manages to keep it on the track and we get forced to the outside and he manages to get past. So a very, very good move there from Bracas. Very, very good move. You know, we see a lot of videos on YouTube of dirty drivers on GT Sport, but for me, you know, we should be making videos about great racing, and that was a great move from him there, so I had to include that in this video. But unfortunately that's put us down into third place, and we're on the last lap, so we're not really going to be able to do much else then if there's no mistakes up ahead. And you can see here we cross the line and do finish in third place, so still another podium. But it was a great race, really exciting. It's great fun racing these cars side by side as well when you get the opportunity. So our final race then, and we've started the race in pole position. We've increased our qualifying lap and started in pole, so very, very good opportunity to win another race then today. We just want to be as clean as we can out of turn one. Not the best exit, but the car behind gets a worse exit than we do, and you can see here as we're running down the hill we've already got a gap of a second, so that's going to leave him out of the slipstream. We're not going to come under attack on the first lap, and all we need to do now is push if we can for a lap or two and then settle down into a nice comfortable pace if we've managed to get the gap up enough. So let's skip forward then onto the end of lap 1. You can see here the gap is already 2.2 seconds, so nice gap already, and we can just start to settle down into a comfortable race pace. Don't make any mistakes, and really unless they're lapping super quick they shouldn't be able to catch. And you can see here as we cross lap 2 to start lap 3 we are 4 seconds ahead already. So yeah, as long as we don't make mistakes, this race is pretty much a done deal. And you can see here as we head through the final chicane at the end of lap number 10, we've got a gap of over 8 seconds. So we're going to finish today with a nice comfortable victory, and yeah, 3 podiums out of 3, 2 victories, can't complain too much with that. As always, if you've enjoyed watching the video and enjoying the racing, please give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.